I am back and better than ever, and TCW continues to move forward, making history at every step along the way. And we will be doing just that for another house show, and I hope that you are just as excited as I am, because we're going to have some great action tonight as soon as we get loaded in. And the first match on tonight's card will be Will Ospreay going up against Hiroshi Hase. Two great Japanese superstars, past and present, and they are competing not only to prove they are the very best in the ring on this night, but to also get the attention of the promoter for TCW, as there will be 5 openings on the roster moving forward. And not only will wins matter, but performance as well, so they are certainly going to have to do well and look good doing it. And those are not the only matches that we have on the docket for the dais. We're going to have a old school Survivor Series elimination style matchup later in the night. We're going to have some TCW members of the roster compete, as well as, and also people off the roster competing as well. So I do hope that you enjoy the matches that we have going on tonight. I know I will. So kick back, relax, and stay tuned as we show you why TCW is the very best in Fire Pro Wrestling World Wrestling. I know that was quite redundant there, but nonetheless. So again, the first matchup is going to be Ospreay going up against Hiroshi Hase. I think that's going to be a very exciting matchup, to say the least. I've definitely seen what Ospreay is capable of, and Hase, definitely someone to keep an eye out for. He's one of the premier competitors from the past. There he is. Have Zack Sabre there, and as we are looking for Will Ospreay now, and there he is right there. And quite frankly, I think that this is a fitting opening matchup for sure. I definitely have my eye on both of these competitors as far as bringing them aboard on the 5 openings that we currently have. Ospreay certainly has a very dynamic, unique style, and Hiroshi Hase, in my eyes, has a style that would fit in with a bubble within the roster. And later on, if you're catching this on a delay, not watching live, I will post in the comments our Alliance title tournament that took place earlier today, this morning, that crowned the inaugural Alliance champion among myself and the other two GMs who are now competing in a battle of the Bookers. And I must say, it was a tremendous tournament. Very exciting and hard to predict. And I will be talking about the outcome later, so if you have not seen it, perhaps pause or watch it nonetheless. I think even if you know the outcome, it was still a very enjoyable tournament to watch. I was definitely on the edge of my seat because I had Magnum, Inoki, and the Warrior, 3 members of the TCW roster, competing, and we're in spoiler territory now, but if you want to, you can pause, come back, watch at a later date. But like I said, it won't ruin it if you know the outcome, although anyways, one of my roster members would make the final, and very surprisingly, it was Magnum TA who made it all the way to the final, but was unfortunately not able to take home the title. You heard it here first, folks, unless you watched it, which, it was a tremendous tournament nonetheless. I very much enjoyed it. And Andre the Giant, one of Brandon Morgan's competitors, was able to pull out the victory and bring the Alliance title home for him. And I can tell you this, without a shadow of a doubt, TCW will be bringing that title home eventually. The roster's just too darn talented not to. We have so many people who were involved and not involved that could easily bring home that title moving forward, and I am very excited to get another try at the title. But another thing to keep in mind, and that is, after this month's, and I say that in quotation marks, after this month's tag title tournament, which, this is kind of an announcement if you haven't heard it in any of the other videos. I know I mentioned it in the first house show that took place. There will be a tag title tournament once Brandon and Charles have completed their pay-per-views and the TVs leading up to that pay-per-view. As of now, due to the performance that I put forth with my bookings and such and the roster, I have at least 2 tag teams that I will be able to elect to perform in that tag tournament for the Alliance tag titles. As of right now, I have at least 2 tag teams that I would like to nominate. The first one being the Blade Runners, the second one being Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. And look at that maneuver by Will Ospreay. You only get the 2 count there. And another thing that you might take away from these house shows, and that is, it's a little loose, or less loosely structured than what I like to do with the TV and the pay-per-views. If you do watch the TV and the pay-per-views, you might notice that it's more kayfabe-esque. And on the house shows, I think it's a good opportunity to give you some of the behind-the-scenes stuff in what's going on and what to expect moving forward. For one, like I think a good example would be the Alliance title tournament, what happened there, and the tag title tournament, something to look forward to, and that should be coming out fairly quickly as Hase connects with the Uranagi there, nearly able to win it. And for those of you who have watched past TVs, I mean, obviously they're in the archives. You can check them out moving forward. This would be a good spot in the comments if you have a tag that is currently on the roster, as I'm not going to be able to pick up free agents until the end of next in-game month. So that will happen after the tournament. So I'm limited to my current roster, but if you do have a tag team existing or a makeshift tag team with 2 members on the roster, let me know. You can comment them down below, and I will at least consider them for the Alliance Tag Title Tournament. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and drop a comment there. And this is a beautiful matchup here. Definitely something I was looking forward to seeing, and really wanted to see if these 2 guys would put on a good match. And if they do, like what you're going to see moving forward, I might test them out in the meantime against members of my roster, just to see if they can put out good matches against them as well. So, and I figured it just made sense. So, I mean, with some of these people, I'm going to have to like kind of build up, see how they do against, well, Ospreay did awesome there. So, I mean, with Ospreay, I might put him up against another person who's currently not on the roster yet. If he does well again, then I might put him against someone who's currently on my roster, and then see if he has a good match rating under those circumstances. But I think he did well in this match. We'll see what the match rating says. 92. I mean, I would love to have match ratings like that on my TV, especially. So he's definitely someone that I'm going to keep an eye on moving forward. Probably have him on next week, or another house show, I should say, rather. Up next, a very exciting matchup that I think you guys will really like to see. We're going to have Tiger Mask go up against Jushin Thunder Liger. Definitely 2 Japanese legends. And they should have a absolutely dynamite match as far as I'm concerned. And I'm really looking forward to see whether they can mesh well, not only with each other, which is what I would expect, but, you know, if whoever wins likely, as there's a limited amount of spots available moving forward. See if they can do well against my roster, as I was saying, with Ospreay. So perhaps moving forward, we could see a match between the winner of this match and Ospreay. Who knows? I think their styles would certainly match up well, in my opinion. So obviously, we have in match 2, this match, Tiger Mask and Thunder Liger. Then up next, we're going to have the Road Warriors going up against Hanson and Brody, which was the tag that I had mentioned earlier that is definitely a favorite to be in the Alliance Tag Title Tournament. After that, we're going to have Harley Race, who we saw on the last house show, who picked up a victory over Nick Bockwinkel, going up against Lou Thez, who picked up a win over Carl Gotch. Then we're going to have 3 matches following that, and I will announce them as we get closer to it. But this match at hand, which I'm definitely going to watch closely, is Liger and Tiger Mask. In my opinion, 2 of the most recognizable, possibly masked Japanese superstars. In Liger, I mean, I think if I were to compare his longevity to Undertaker's, that would be a compliment to The Undertaker, because I think, well, Taker is approaching 30 years, and I think I guess they both have wrestled for 30 years if you date back to The Undertaker's time away from the WWE. But Liger has a 30-year, 3-decade career, largely considered a legend in Japan. Tiger Mask has had many people under the mask, regardless the ceiling or skill, overall performance level has stayed consistently near the top. I think they have very good styles, conducive to one another to have a fantastic match. I think they would fit in very well with a large majority of TCW's current roster. I think they would fit in really well with the likes of Brett, Flair, who we will be seeing on this very house show moving forward, Macho, Omega, HBK. I mean, those are some feuds that I think would do really well moving forward. And, I've just got to say, the future of TCW looks very bright, in my modest opinion. Despite the fact that we did not take home the NWA title, so to speak, I don't think will be a hindrance, and as I said earlier, I think that we will be able to bring it home in the future, and I think that title will be defended in the same proximity of time that the tag titles are on the line, the Alliance tag titles. So I will be getting a shot again, most likely very soon. And again, if you haven't seen the tournament, at least check it out moving forward. If not, it will be in the comments once I'm done streaming this. One thing that I didn't expect, so a little bit of backstory. We originally ran it in one of there was some controversy around it, so we re-ran it. In the initial run, Inoki, who is, obviously one of my top guys, it was why I put him in the tournament, but I think he was even probably, him and Warrior were the 2 people I would expect to make it to the final, and Inoki did make it to the final in the initial run. He ran into Kenta Kobayashi, I believe, this time around, and Kenta, he laid a whooping on Inoki. Then, surprisingly, Andre beat him and then was able to overcome, the great matchup that was Kenta and beat Magnum. And what a German suplex there by Tiger, but he's only able to get a 2.9. Honestly, I think had Inoki met Andre in the finals, we would have been looking better. I think that the matchups that Andre had would have put Inoki in a better position had he met him in the finals. Nonetheless, I'm stoked with how the tournament turned out. I thought it was an awesome tournament. Really good action. Some of the matches, especially in round one, were tremendous. Obviously the Kenta Inoki match was tremendous. I'm trying to think. Warrior faced off with, might have been Michiru Misawa. That match was tremendous. The Warrior match was really good, and Magnum had a very good match. I can't remember who he faced in round one, but it was a really good tournament nonetheless, and I would check it out even knowing some of the outcomes. This is a tremendous matchup here. And here's the thing, and another beautiful German by Tiger, and he gets the 3 count. And it looks like in the future we will be seeing a Tiger Mask versus Will Ospreay match moving forward. And I know I'm going to be very excited to see that matchup. And wow, not the rating I was looking for. Nonetheless, sometimes that could just be, you're not matched up against someone who is quite on your level. That might be the reason for the 73. Obviously not something I wanted to see, but I mean, Tiger's going to get an opportunity to right that wrong, per se, up against Will Ospreay. And hopefully it does turn out. I wouldn't mind having both Ospreay and Tiger on the roster. It would definitely add some meat to the mid-card, so to speak. Moving forward, as I said, the Road Warriors are going to take on Hanson and Brody, 2 current members of the TCW roster. And definitely very excited to see it. Obviously, the Road Warriors are kind of a 2-for-1 when we do this free agency draft, so to speak, to get the 5 new members of the roster. I'm going to have to get both. If I get one, I got to get both. And not necessarily, but I mean, I really... I would like to have both, at least. It's a better way to say it. And I love whoever did these edits. I can't remember. It might have been from the Reddit community, actually. It might have been Christopher, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly, but I mean, these edits are immaculate. I mean, they look terrific. Super cool. I like how it's kind of like before WWF, which is kind of where they made their name. Maybe even AWA or Jim Crockett Promotion. LOD. I love it. I mean, and that's like the thing that I like most about this game is the community creations, you know. And people say like 2K, and I think you can make some really cool stuff in 2K. But I think the created wrestlers just, they don't hold up to what you can do in here. And obviously it's a different style. But I like it a lot more with what you can do and how it looks comparatively, at least. But again, I mean, the LOD looks tremendous. Hansen looks tremendous. And so does King Kong himself. Bruiser Brody, who is currently the #1 contender for the Ultimate title in TCW, which is currently held by the champ, The Undertaker, who, if you've been watching, know, took the title away from the Ultimate Warrior in the main event of TCW Soul Survivor, which, if you haven't checked it out, I very much do recommend taking a look at. We had the US title, the Ultimate title, both on the line on that pay-per-view. As I said, Taker took on the Warrior, who was undefeated going into that title matchup, but left with his record marred, to say the least. I think this is a tremendous matchup for sure. Had I had or drafted LOD in the initial draft, I certainly would have to definitely consider putting them in the Alliance Tag title tournament. But nonetheless, hopefully this is a tune-up match for Bruiser and Hansen, and not a stunning defeat for them, and what would likely not stun the Initiated. And the Legion of Doom is certainly a favorite of many to be the greatest tag team in all of wrestling. They achieved heights in which very few tag teams can match. Former AWA, NWA, and WWE champions. I think maybe the Steiners. I'm not even sure if the Steiners were in AWA. They definitely could have been, seeing as though they are from Michigan, and that's kind of the general area of the AWA, but I'm not 100% on that. They might be another tag team to have done it, and I think there was one other. There might have only been 3 to have that honor. Definitely a short list, and in the Road Warriors, definitely a top 5 tag team. Undisputed. We have some very good tag wrestlers, though, for sure, on the TCW roster, Bret Hart being among them. And Owen Hart and Bret had tagged for a good while until the injury of Owen Hart in TCW. But we could see a family reunion if they were to enter that tag title tournament together. Something that I've definitely thought about. Not sure whether I'll go through with it, but it's always an option. Again, after this matchup, we will have Harley Race taking on Lou Thez 1-on-1. Then after that, Ricky Dozan will be going up against Giant Baba, 2 of the premier promoters of Japan in the 80s. We'll go head-to-head for superiority and a chance to make the TCW roster. Now I'm very excited for that after the house show that took place just 2 days ago on the 26th, in which Ricky Dozan defeated Ricky Choshu one-on-one in one of the best performances of the night, only to be outdone by the main event, in which Taker took on the imposter Undertaker in a non-title main event matchup. If you have not seen it, definitely worth a watch. It's an unconventional match for sure, but it was very entertaining and ended up in a 100 match performance. And if only I could do that on TCW TV every week, and that would be tremendous. But nonetheless, and you know, perhaps at some point in the future I may release a link for a read-only view of the Google Docs, in which we use to keep track, and it's a really good representation of what we do in the Battle of the Bookers. Shows every match segment's rating, obviously the match rating that you see at the end of every match. Compares it to their rating at that segment, and then the average for the week. It all kind of factors in to the popularity, which can then, in title matches, increase the match rating, which is a pretty cool system that we currently have going, and works pretty well with 3 GMs. And it just kind of makes the booking of these matches a lot more fun, and I love doing these house show matches, but there's more weight, at least to the TV matches, which have their pros and cons for sure, in that you have to book matches that are good, you know, for lack of a better term. And Bruiser is a premier example of a performer who can crank out really good matches depending on his competition, but he's a really hit or miss competitor. And if you've watched, you know, all the episodes of TCW TV and the pay-per-views, or just the pay-per-views rather, I mean, that is the definition of hit or miss, as I get tongue-tied. Pay-per-view 1, Highway to Hell, Halloween Havoc, in the main event against the Ultimate Warrior. The best match up until that point. I feel fairly confident in saying that. Then he faced Hulk Hogan in the semi-main event of Soul Survivor, the pay-per-view following Halloween Havoc. And was the miss in the hit or miss saying. I fully expected it to be a 100, easy 100, 5-star match. Something to steal the show. The stipulation going into that match was Hogan, if he were to win, would become the number 1 contender. And Bruiser, who came into that matchup as the number 1 contender, put it on the line so that he could pick the match stipulation when he faced the Ultimate Champion moving forward. He won, so moving forward he will be able to pick the match stipulation, and he absolutely crushed Hulk Hogan. I mean, the immortal Hulk Hogan looked mortal, and I expected it to be more or less a battle of the Titans, but it was not that. He can be absolutely dominant at times. Up against the right competitor can be a dream. But I mean, it's risky to put someone like him in a match. I mean, you could easily get a 5-star match or you could get a dud. But that's what makes it exciting, is that there's some consequences, but at the same time it can kind of limit creativity and, stifle matches that you could go out on a limb to book otherwise, which is why I've started these house shows, so to speak, which not only allows me to work with my roster, but the free agent pool as well, which moving forward I think I might continue to have people outside the roster for the house shows at least, just because, especially if you're running more and more matches with a 30-man roster, which is what it's going to be moving forward, or a 25-man roster, what it currently is, matchups are going to get stale. So it's just cool to throw in some different guys. At least that's my take. And this is a beauty of a tag matchup, what we have going on here. And I think there was no doubt that this would be a match to steal the show. And I definitely, without tipping my hand too much, wanted to have a peek at what the Road Warriors were capable of. But at the same time, definitely good to see how well Bruiser and Hanson can do against another great tag team. They're going to be going up against premier tag teams in the Alliance Tag Title Tournament for sure, makeshift or otherwise. I know that Charles, I believe, another one of the GMs, and wow, the Road Warriors pull off the victory, and certainly not what the promoter of TCW wanted to see, but definitely a good showing for the Road Warriors to potentially get picked up once the free agency draft does occur. And sometimes I've got to be honest, I'm kind of baffled by the match ratings. I know some of the variables that go into the match ratings. I've definitely seen matches that looked good, or at least were entertaining in my eyes, that got ratings pretty similar to that. And I don't know, was it a fluke? Not sure. But I'll have to try out the Road Warriors again with someone else. Not the best showing for sure. Not what I wanted to see, so to speak. But I would definitely probably going to give them another chance just to see if they can do better. Now we're going to have Harley Race going up against Lou Thez. And definitely an interesting matchup as far as I'm concerned. And I want to see if these two styles, I think they're going to mesh well, but they both surprisingly had kind of low match ratings from the house show just 2 days ago, which is another thing that I'm keeping an eye on. In case you didn't see it or can't remember, Gotch got a 81 rating from his match against Lou Thez, and Harley Race a 78 going up against Nick Bockwinkel. And definitely had higher expectations. I think in this matchup, it should be a lot better. And, you know, just to be clear, TV ratings, the average TV show that I put out in the Battle of the Booker, same ref, same venue, are high 80s, low 90s. So, obviously, you know, a low 80 match, not the worst thing in the world, but I'm looking for talent that can fairly consistently put out matches that are at least in the mid-80s. You know, and I know a lot of, and the thing about it is, it's generally, you need a good dance partner. That's for sure. And there's always going to be like a certain matchup that just clicks, whether it be chemistry or how evenly matched they are. I mean, I think we saw a very good example of that in match 1 when Ospreay took on Hase. And now it's very likely that those two guys both are going to be people that I'm going to have to keep an eye on, you know, before we do the talent acquisition, so to speak. Because, like, a match like that, that's going to really boost your TV rating for the Battle of the Bookers. Another thing to keep in mind is someone who can dominate is very, very advantageous to keep on the roster just for the Alliance title picture. We didn't take it home the first time. Perhaps we need to look towards the free agent market to find someone who will be able to dethrone Andre. I mean, those are the two criteria that I'm looking at currently. I think that, or at least my thoughts coming in were, I know I can get the Alliance title tournament, or the Alliance title at some point. I'm confident of that. And it's not just because Andre has it, but because people like Inoki, Bruiser, Hogan, Lesnar, Warrior, those guys are going to have a fighting chance nearly every time they get in the ring. I think that they could beat Andre, and if it's a triple threat, they would have a fair chance. But it is, you know, to have another guy to throw into the mix, something to think about for sure. And keep in mind, you know, for people who are, you know a lot about Fire Pro Wrestling, you know that they're all created wrestlers. What we've done, we've all used community created people. So we aren't creating these guys, so obviously, you know, the easy answer would be to create your own guy. But, you know, in the spirit of competition, all community created. And that was honestly the underlying factor as to why we had a second tournament. It was a community created edit who is just completely outrageously overpowered. I mean, 10s in every category. We reran it, and Brandon won again. Lucky SOB. But it was Andre. It was an edit that I actually believe that I have. And definitely a fair edit, in my opinion. Andre is a legend of the game for one. Deserving of the title. an absolute beauty of an inaugural champion in my eyes. You know, I would have been ecstatic if it was a TCW roster member to win it, but I'm not sad considering it was Andre who won it, and that same Andre at it had lost in the initial tournament, which is, I mean, that makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better about the whole tournament. Is one, knowing that the title holder can lose, whereas in the initial one my concern was that the holder would never lose the title, you know, and at that point it's like, how fun is that? And if Andre holds it the whole year, I will be salty, but at the same time it would be a cool wrinkle. I don't think it will happen. I think I will take home that title at some point, but that's besides the point. It's just that you know that Andre can lose. He has lost in the past. He lost to Inoki. So in the back of Brandon's mind, he might be holding the title for now, but I think he knows, and I know, that I have my eyes on that title, or Inoki does rather. And he's going to be looking for that matchup so that he can bring home that 10 pounds of gold for the promotion that deserves the respect and will get that respect by any means necessary. And that's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. And I hate to cut a promo like that, but sometimes you just have to get a little bit serious and just lay the smackdown verbally onto the listeners. Let them know where you're at. Get them in the picture. But this is a beautiful match so far. One that I've been grossly talking over. And I think, you know, Luthez, at least in my mind, was a long shot for the roster, but he was obviously on the first house show for a reason, as he's pinned only for a 1 count. But, you know, my whole thing, and something that I wanted to do, is, you know, look at different eras. I mean, my roster comparatively, and if you've seen the other GM's shows, or even if you've just seen my shows, and look, the Luthez press, and he goes for the pin and nearly gets it there, and that's why it's called a Thez press, ladies and gentlemen. But back to the point at hand. I mean, if you've seen my TVs or PPVs, the product, the TCW product, then you will know that it's kind of a majority 80s and 90s. You know, we have Okada, we have Omega, the two biggest superstars, best wrestlers in wrestling today. Then we got some 90s guys, the best of the 90s, the best performers of the 90s. Taker, HBK, Bret Hart. And then we got the 80s guys, the best of the 80s, Hogan. And Luthez picks up the victory there. So he wanted to cut off my little spiel, and I don't blame him. He's getting a little braggadocious there. But back to the point. I mean, the best of all eras, and that's TCW. And I think we're trying to expand as far as eras go. And you know, that goes to my point. You know, a 17-minute match, only an 80. I thought it was entertaining. You know, even despite the fact that I was talking nonsense for the entirety of it. Still, it's definitely you know, a match that, or at least the competitors are people that I'm gonna keep looking at moving forward. Definitely Thez is going to get another shot, and I think even Harley is moving forward, time permitting, obviously. I mean, there were people that I really, I had my eye on, for sure. But now, we're going to have Ricky Dozan going up against Baba. And, I've seen Giant Baba matches. Someone that I subscribe to, I believe it's Purasau83. I'm not exactly sure, but he has old AJPW and I believe NJPW matches. And Baba is like, he has a ton of matches on this guy's channel, and it is tremendous. I love it. Definitely unique for the time, for sure. And this is why it's the Japanese invasion, ladies and gentlemen, or the Japanese Super Show. Ricky Dozan won the standout match from the house show just 2 days ago. So now he's getting a shot at Baba. And, a good performance here or a win would definitely put him near, if not at the top of the list of talent in which TCW would be looking to bring in once the time is right and the draft is nigh, ladies and gentlemen. And moving forward in the stream, the matches to look forward to, we are going to have the Four Horsemen in a 4v4 matchup against TCW competitors. So we're going to have 5 members of the current TCW roster going at it in a Survivor Series style elimination 4v4 matchup. Then in the main event, Antonio Inoki and the Ultimate Warrior, 2 people on the current TCW roster that you have heard and seen a lot about. 2 people at the very tippy top are going to go at it head to head, mano a mano, in a 15-minute time limit bout. And that match will likely have ramifications moving forward on TCW programming. So do stay tuned for that main event. It should be a 5-star match, so to speak, and I very much hope that it is. And Baba utilizing that great height to get leverage on that armbar. He's trying to go after the arm of Ricky Dozan. You have to wonder how much hate is there as these 2 promoters have gone head to head for years, and now they get to meet in the squared circle to not only prove their brand is best, but also that they are the better competitor. And again, Ricky Dozan, a tremendous competitor. We saw him last week beat Ricky Chosu, the creator of the Sharpshooter, as it is now known. I mean, these are 2 Japanese legends. I mean, if you were to make a Japanese wrestling Mount Rushmore, I think these two would certainly be at the top of the list to make that the four faces, so to speak, with Inoki being on that list as well, in my opinion. Just for the impact that they've had promotionally. I mean, wide-ranging influence from these two competitors, for certain. And hopefully they put on a tremendous performance for their promotions as to not let them down. And you know that there's going to be tremendous fighting spirit here tonight on TCW's Japanese Super Show. And I think Baba was very much gets kind of overlooked as far as Giants go. Just because he had very little exposure in the United States compared to Andre, even Giant Gonzalez. I mean, but as far as what he was able to do in the ring for his size, he has to be one of the best Giants. Definitely on the level of Andre and the Big Show. I mean, you might look at him looking back and it would be easy to nitpick his style, but in my opinion, what he was able to perform was crazy, because he was competing with, wow, my goodness. Just as I was putting him over, he picks up the victory, and that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. A dominant victory for Giant Baba. And only a 77 match rating, certainly not what Ricky Dozan was looking for after his tremendous performance just 2 days ago. But Baba put himself on the map, and gonna have to see just how well he can do against other competition. Make sure that wasn't a fluke, so to speak. Not that I think it was. So as I said, the four horsemen are going to be going up against four members of the TCW roster. For those who have followed TCW programming, you might have an idea of the four people they will be going against. There's Barry Windham. And Flair, I mean, he's certainly someone, in my opinion, currently on the TCW roster who could easily, just go straight into the main event picture. He's looked good. He's put on tremendous matches at every turn. And, I mean, he's won some of the big ones, but he's yet to have that defining moment, so to speak, in TCW. But we're still early in the calendar year in game, and he could easily really jump off the page and into that main event scene that top title scene. And these are 4 TCW competitors who have worked together at seemingly every turn, and it is no coincidence that they are competing together here. And a fun fact, Okada, a member of the 4 competitors going up against the 4 horsemen, will be in the co-main event of TCW TV, which should be able to be recorded fairly soon. Waiting on the other GMs to get through their TVs and record their pay-per-views before I can go ahead and start up on the TVs for the in-game month of March. But he will be going up against Hiroshi Tanahashi for the U.S. title, and I am very ecstatic for that. And we have seen nearly all 4 members of this 4-man tag of all TCW competitors work together, interfere in each other's matches, tag together, all under the the onus rather, sorry. Now I'm really tongue-tied. As under the moniker rather of the New Orient Express. And I think that with this teaming together tonight, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to be able to tell that there is certainly an alliance forming between these 4 members. And I feel bad for Flair in that he has to go up against this lean, mean team of wrestling machines, as Naito went for a triangle choke there on Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. Now Wyndham. And, you know, certainly the promoter of TCW is going to have his eye on Arn, Tully, and Wyndham here tonight to see how they do. You know, it does come off as a kind of a grudge match between Flair and these 4 members of the New Orient Express, but it is just as much a tryout for those 3 that I named earlier as anything for them. I mean, that is truly what is on the line for those 3 members. Flair, on the other hand, who was able to amass this 4 horseman team, does not want to be embarrassed against 4 other members of the roster he currently resides. It would certainly be a blow to the ego, to say the least, on a roster he is currently trying to climb all the way to the tippy top. Okada, in the same boat, does not want to lose, especially to someone not on the roster, as he has a pivotal title match rather, moving forward. Naito will also be in the main event of the next TCW TV episode. He will be tagging with Antonio Inoki up against the Ultimate Warrior and Sting, the Blade Runners, for the duos titles in TCW, and definitely add some fuel to the fire for our main event, which will be up next, and also some more motivation to drive Naito to not eat a pin here. Certainly an interesting matchup. The Four Horsemen currently, I would say, have the experience factor despite all the cooperation we have seen between the New Orient and TCW. That experience will likely play a large factor in how this match pans out. And Muta pulled out a inanimate object. Definitely a maneuver we have seen him pull time and time again. He's not afraid to stretch the rules, that's for sure. Muta, in my eyes, as the modest announcer, certainly has my eye on Muta. He strikes me as a wild card for sure. He's someone who I could easily see take home the TCW US title, which, as I stated before, Okada will be taking on, or competing for rather. And I could also see him taking on the Ultimate title, and with the right tag partner could easily take home the duos partner. I think he's very flexible and dynamic. One of the most dynamic on the TCW roster. I mean, this is 5 of the most promising members of the TCW roster before. None have yet to have a opportunity for the Ultimate title, but I would not be surprised to see all 5 members get a crack at that top title by the end of the calendar year. And Naito just trying to take the stamina away from the Nature Boy, and that is a tough task to say the least, but you can certainly see in his performance he has a mean nature about him, a disrespectful nature. He is someone who likely does not get intimidated against the likes of the Nature Boy. In fact, I think he sees it as an opportunity to advance his career, and that is a very dangerous competitor. And that was a very interesting maneuver there by Flair and Wyndham, and you can tell they have experience tagging together. And Wyndham is definitely one of those competitors in which, in my mind, I would actually compare to the likes of Okada. They have that size, tremendous size, and are silky smooth in the ring with their movements and maneuvers. And I guess you could even throw Shinsuke in that category, although he might not be quite the size of Barry Windham, but that silky smooth maneuverability, leads you to fathom, was he born with it? Maybe it's Maybelline. I'm not sure. You take one look at the hair, and you got to believe there's something else to it. I'm not sure what it is. You be the judge. Now Shinsuke is trying to put some finishing touches on Wyndham before Muta enters the dragon, so to speak. Now it's all-out pandemonium in the ring, and Muta comes equipped with a weapon. You better make way. He eats a clothesline from hell before he's able to put that weapon to use. And now Flair back in the ring. And I've got to say, I wouldn't mind seeing the Brainbusters represent TCW in that Alliance Tag Title Tournament. Unfortunately, they will be unavailable for the tournament, but moving forward, perhaps if we pick them up, who knows? Still up in the air. Obviously, there is so much talent available to be taken. But to the point I was trying to make, they could easily be someone to at least challenge on behalf of TCW for that Alliance Tag Tournament title. Sorry, folks, I'm in rare form today, and what a maneuver by Naito. That unique style you can only find on TCW. And the Four Horsemen are quick to jump to the aid of their leader, the Nature Boy. And look at that. Powerbomb into a neck breaker, or reverse cutter of sorts. But he hit the Destino on Flair, but unable to capitalize, and now he's going to have to tag out. He doesn't want to have to deal with Tully after taking a beating from all members of the Four Horsemen. And this match will likely be a marathon rather than a sprint, ladies and gentlemen. I certainly hope you're locked in, as this will be one of those classic bouts that you only hear about in myths and legends, as some of the very best from New Japan take on the very best from Jim Crockett and WCW. And that is what makes this Japanese Super Show so very important. You know, some think of a house show as maybe a demotion from the TV matches, but certainly in my eyes, and I think your eyes, the viewers, should find at least these matches to be just as good, if not better. You're going to see some unique matches that you're just not going to find, such as this 4v4 Survivor Series match. That just for the rules that we have to keep everything fair, you wouldn't see this on TCW TV. And it just felt right coming off Survivor Series just a week ago. And what a way to close the month of November in the calendar year. And now Barry Windham is trying to take advantage of Shinsuke, and he's going to take a beating from all members of the Horsemen. And we have yet to see an elimination yet. And a nice bulldog there by Barry Windham. And I thought he was going to spit the mist into the face of Barry, but it was maybe a warning of things to come, and he connects with the moonsault onto the back of Windham. You have to wonder, he misses with the mist. This has been a tremendous matchup so far. He lands a jumping sit-out pile driver there on Tully. Signature elbow. And Muta walked right into the trap that was sprung by Double A. Arn Anderson. Could very well get him eliminated. And I've got to say, thanks for joining. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. We're going to have tremendous action just like this coming up. More house shows, so to speak, moving forward, as well as TCW episodic television and pay-per-views with running storylines that you will see sprinkled into these house shows. As Naito lands a Destino, but Tali springs right up to his feet and tags in the Nature Boy. And again, you'll see storylines sprinkled in, but you'll see the majority of the storytelling, at least, on the TCW TV and pay-per-views. And we had a tremendous pay-per-view just a little under a week ago, I believe. It was recorded and released on Thanksgiving Day. It was TCW Soul Survivor. And I don't want to give too much away, but I did already mention some of the great matches, one being the main event, in which The Undertaker defeated the undefeated Ultimate Warrior for the Ultimate title in a shocking match, to say the least. I don't think, at least I did not anticipate Warrior losing. He had looked so dominant up until that point, but I think the manner in which he lost was very, very shocking. Now it's all-out pandemonium, and Shinsuke just looks on, as does Barry Windham. You have to wonder what that is about. If Flair had Naito in the figure 4 leg lock, and this is hard to call, ladies and gentlemen, as we approach the 30-minute mark, and this one could go on for a while. And Muta connects with the Mist on Flair, and a member of the TCW roster is, well, now Flair is going to tag out. And again, on TCW television, if you've seen before, you may be acquainted with the fact that there is a 30-minute time limit for those matches on TV. But for the house shows, there is no time limit, much like the pay-per-views. So it's a cool opportunity to get pay-per-view quality matches in the meantime and in between time to fill some of the time that you're going to find while I wait for other GMs, as Arn Anderson lands that patented spine buster, one that he has perfected. And now he's in the ring by himself, as 3 members of the New Orient Express are there to take advantage. And Okada connects with a tombstone and then a Kinshasa, easy for me to say, by Shinsuke. And this is absolutely crazy. The carnage. And he connects with the Mist. But he's able to connect with the DDT to give himself some breathing room. This one could go on for a while, folks. I think we all knew that coming in. There is yet to be an elimination, but once the ball gets rolling, I think the first elimination will be integral for sure. And Muta has a sledgehammer in hand, and now a foreign object, but the 4 horsemen are not going to let it go down like that, that's for sure. Do apologize for some technical difficulties there, but I am back and better than ever, much like Big E himself. And I hope you are enjoying this premier matchup here on TCW. The Japanese Super Show, so to speak, and we have seen some of Japan's very best to offer. I know I've been enjoying it. I hope you are too. And it looks like we might be seeing a count out here. I mean, this has been one of the craziest matchups to take place under the TCW banner, for sure. And we find our first elimination. Shinsuke was eliminated, and you hate to see it as a member of the TCW production team. But, I mean, the Four Horsemen is a formidable opponent for sure. And Shinsuke is trying to get involved, and the ref is having none of it, and now his three team members are getting absolutely destroyed because of his interference. I mean, I would honestly blame him. His teammates took an unnecessary beating. And I think he thought that he would be able to sneak in and sneak out, but he left his teammates very vulnerable there. And look at this maneuver by Okada. And I've got to say, I mean, this has just turned into an absolutely chaotic matchup. Again, Shinsuke, a member of the TCW roster, you hate to see him get eliminated, but, you know, the Four Horsemen could potentially be making their way onto the TCW roster once the talent acquisition takes place. Only 3 members, Arn, Tully, and Barry, as Okada connects with the Rainmaker and gets the pinfall over Double A Arn Anderson. And that is definitely a pin that he is going to be putting up on his resume, but then he is quickly pinned by the Nature Boy afterwards, and the Four Horsemen, now standing at just 3, have the numbers advantage over the young Naito and the unpredictable Great Muta. And now he's going for the figure 4 leg lock. And what a tag maneuver there by Barry and Tully. Again, their experience shown off there. You can certainly tell these members of the Four Horsemen have had years of interaction. They seem like a well-oiled machine, and certainly that could be the explanation for why Okada and Shinsuke went down. I think it's no blemish on the face of TCW. I mean, we are nearing 50 minutes into this competition. This is definitely a testament to the training and endurance of all competitors involved. Muda certainly, I think there was an inanimate object used there by Flair, and he gets the pin over Naito, and now it's Muda on an island going up against Wyndham, Flair, and Tully, and I have not seen a taller order since my last night at the bar, and that's why I stopped going back, folks. So it was a tall order and a long, long check, and the receipt is going to be hefty for Muda. All the chair shots, all the fork stabs to the forehead. He's going to be getting a receipt. That's all I got to say. It's 3-on-1, and you got to know that the Horsemen are going to be going after him full force, and his tag members are trying to get into the ring now to help him out the best they can. But the ref is all over it, and kudos to him for doing such a good job. Look at this vertical suplex by Flair. Flair, another member of the TCW roster, has done a fantastic job eliminating 2 opponents tonight. And now it's pandemonium out on the corner. It's allowing those eliminated members to get re-involved in this matchup. And look, the inanimate object used on Tully. Now he's busted wide open, a crimson mask applied. And he's going to need to keep resorting to these tactics if he's going to stay in this matchup. And now the figure 4 leg lock is applied, and that's it. And what a performance by Flair, who laid it all on the line and eliminated 3 members of the New Orient Express in an absolutely impressive display. And now to the main event, and you know Flair is going to be putting that in his cap as the fact that he is a main event player for sure. At least in the eyes of the audience. And that he should be getting more notice than he has up until this point. And I would have to agree after that dominant display. And this main event is definitely one to look out for. I am very, very excited. A 15-minute time limit on this main event. Will we see a victor? I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, Warrior definitely has that Mike Tyson-esque quality to him, that he can finish a match in an instant. Without a doubt. Inoki, also one of the most deadly competitors on the roster. He can make you tap out or knock you out. Very, very flexible and able to adapt, we'll say. The winner of this bout, if there is one, it would have long reigning ramifications in the TCW universe. These men are two people at the very tippy top. They have earned their stay in the main event, and they will be going at it in a duos match on TCW television in the main event moving forward for Week 9. Again, the Blade Runners, Warrior and Sting, will be facing Inoki and Naito for the duos titles. I know I'm excited for that matchup, and if you're watching, you certainly should be excited as well, and keep an eye out for that match. If you're not subscribed already, please do. If you haven't liked, again, please do. That tag match will certainly be interesting, to say the least. The Ultimate Warrior was undefeated in singles and tag action up until Soul Survivor, the pay-per-view that took place just merely a week ago on Thanksgiving Day. Still, the Blade Runners undefeated in tag action and the current champions. Inoki, a force of nature, taking the young Naito under his wing in hopes of getting tag gold. These two competitors are going to be mixing up for gold. That is a fact, Jack. That's moving forward, whether it be the duos titles, the US title, or the Ultimate title. And I can say that with absolute confidence. They will be facing each other in title matches often. And how apropos that they meet in the main event of this house show. Just a taste of what's to come. And you know, if one competitor is to be able to get a victory here, it will give them a huge mental edge when the titles are on the line. They definitely have different styles, that's for sure, and stylistically you have to wonder who has the advantage, Warrior or Inoki. I think they are quite evenly matched. I think that it'll likely come down to their tag partners, who also are pretty evenly matched. Naito, who we saw unfortunately go down up against Flair and the Four Horsemen just last match, and Sting, who will be tagging as one half of the tag champions, the Blade Runners, with the Warriors. This is a great opportunity for both competitors to scout one another, find out what they're going up against. And an armbar there by Inoki. I think he's certainly trying to take out some of the power maneuvers that we see early and often from the Warrior. One being the gorilla press. He likes to slam his opponents. Another being the bear hug. A lot of his maneuvers stem from his arms, and now he's working the midsection and the arm in that octopus hold. And now Inoki connects with a vertical suplex there, and we are just past the halfway point of this 15-minute time limit main event. Just 2 days ago, we saw the Ultimate title holder, the man who defeated the Ultimate Warrior for that belt, The Undertaker, go up against a seeming imposter in a non-title match, and that was a tremendous main event. And Warrior connects with a splash and nearly gets the pinfall victory. And what a moment that would have been, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to go for a splash here. No, maybe a shoulder tackle, and Inoki's smart enough to get out of the way. And now a bear hug is applied. Again, that's where the power advantage comes in for the Warrior. Now a gorilla press, and he's going to go for a slant. He defeated Inoki in just 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. And what type of mental advantage is that going to give the Warrior moving forward? Your guess is as good as mine. And certainly it will be a different matchup once it is a tag matchup for the duos titles in the main event of TCW TV in the future. But my goodness, that dominant display will certainly have many fans clamoring that they will be the favorites to retain, the Blade Runners, that is, in the main event in the future. Guys, I hope that you did enjoy this house show event. If you did, please like and subscribe. We will have tremendous action just like this in the very near future moving forward. Have a great night, ladies and gents.